About 3 years ago, I made a video highlighting Grim Dawn's alpha gameplay footage, giving some of my first impressions. Here we are, 2.5, almost 3 years later, and Grim Dawn is finally released today, this evening in fact. And I gotta say, it's been a long ride, but a good one. Now, for those of you who don't know what Grim Dawn is, it's an action RPG developed by the indie studio Crate Entertainment, and it is the spiritual successor to Titan Quest. It even uses a majorly overhauled version of the Titan Quest engine. I personally heard about the game in 2010 and decided to go in as an early backer to their pre-order program. In 2013 they did a Kickstarter, and I put into that as well because I believed in what the game was going to become and where it came from. Its roots were great, and I knew it had a lot of potential. Well, with no further ado, here's my review of Grim Dawn. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the town is a bit more fleshed out. There are more NPCs there, they're not placeholders anymore, and they actually have nice voiceovers rather than just plain text like they used to have. There are vendors, crafting stations, a larger stash than used to be present, and all the things you'd kind of expect to find in a modern action RPG. The class system has been upgraded, with the inclusion of the Shaman and the Arcanist to the original 4 classes of Nightblade, Occultist, Demolitionist, and Soldier. The options for players to choose their playstyle has now been greatly increased. You can either choose just one, or combine at level 10 to make a powerful dual-class combination. You can build each class combination the way you want to. There's no cookie-cutter way to do anything. From AoE nuker, to gunner, to pet master, to dual-wielding assassin, the option is yours. Furthermore, since equipment is not restricted by class, only by stats and levels, you have even more customization options. The world of Cairn is now about 3 to 4 times larger than it was during my initial impressions. Originally, development called for 3 acts to the complete game. Crate Entertainment has since added a 4th act at no additional charge. Just like the 2 extra classes they added, they give us a full free act, which nearly doubled the size of the game as it previously stood at 3 acts. It's just another example of Crate going above and beyond what their intended goals were and succeeding. Grim Dawn is themed in a Victorian-era post-apocalyptic world, where evil ethereal forces are overpowering the surviving remnants of humanity. Plenty of books, scrolls, and NPC dialogue are available to expound on the history of Cairn and the story of Grim Dawn. The soundtrack is dark, brooding, and seems appropriate for the setting. All the sounds are pretty solid. There's an ambiance which is present without being too obvious or annoying. The engine's graphics have improved significantly since the days of Titan Quest, and this team has made a nice looking game despite having only a few long-term employees. While the controls do not redefine the genre, they're crisp and simple enough to grasp on the first play session, and they're pretty much what you could come to expect from a modern ARPG. By the time you reach late game stages, you're going to feel pretty much like a badass. Your abilities will scale fairly well so long as you focus them properly, and you'll be able to down bosses and heavier targets without too much trouble, so long as you don't make silly mistakes. The game can be fairly punishing, but as long as you pay attention and don't make too many mistakes, you should come out on top. At least for normal difficulty. If any player can make it through legendary difficulty without dying, I'll be quite impressed. There are also veteran and hardcore modes for those players looking for a deeper challenge with greater rewards. There are multiple NPCs who can assist you in crafting all sorts of items, from potions to weapons, armor, accessories, and other kinds of equipment. You can also find new crafting recipes as random monster drops. Many quests require the player to make a choice. Gain the support of one party and lose the support of another. This may simply mean that you have access to a different vendor or blacksmith, or something more consequential. Last but not least, the Grim Dawn community is outstanding. The members there are dedicated. Many of these community members hail back as far as the original Titan Quest, which is nearly 10 years ago, and without them this game simply would not have been possible. I recommend this game to anybody who is a fan of the genre, and who would like a solid game at a very fair price.